My hand's stable, I feel able to turn the tables, I could do this. Just keep moving, keep your hands up, stupid. I feel lucid, a new viewing. I can see the end, I can see my future, I can view it. It's right there for the taking. Everything I've ever wanted, dreams are just waiting. I just gotta fight for it, willing to die for it, willing to like sort of.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000, it still sucks. This is Philip J. Fry, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show, your one-stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
Just like every other podcast. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the DT Show. Today, there's been a lot of news and developments in the Charlie Kirk assassination with the arrest of Tyler Robinson, 22, out of Utah. A lot of information that's come out. We're going to kind of break down some of those things that have been broken through or that have been coming in. We have a special guest, as always, our friend, Dr. Vona. How's it going, Doctor?
Hi, how are you, everyone? Thank you for having me.
It's good to see you again. I know that we've kind of had to pivot a little bit when it comes to what we've had planned for the shows, but we still intend to do the Brian Koberger stuff and Timothy D's things that Timothy D's case that I'm doing. But a lot of news. There was an arrest made. We got a visual of who the suspect is. Let me pull up his mugshot real fast. Tyler Robinson, 22 years old, former straight A student. What are your first thoughts? Does he just kind of look like your normal kid, doesn't he? It doesn't look like somebody you would expect to have done something like this.
Other than the fact that it looks like he looks very flush here, like sweaty. I don't know. I feel like that could be like symptomatic as well, or he could have just been sweaty, but he looks like a little disheveled. But my first thought was, oh my gosh, another person, like another academic type person, like he's very smart, like you said, straight A. So it's like with the BK thing, it's like, what's happening?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I know a lot of people have their theories one way or another. I think there's a lot of influence online. And, I think Brian Koberger was on Reddit, and it seems like this guy had his Reddit forums that he was a part of as well. I think he was also on Discord. Now, I don't know if Brian Koberger was on Discord or not, but this guy was. He actually had spoken. And we're going to listen to part of the press conference that detailed some of the information that they have gathered against him. But, he had talked to, I guess, his roommate on Discord, I guess, attempting to get the roommate to go retrieve some of the items that he left behind.
Could you imagine?
Now, if that person's not calling that in, do you feel that's an accomplice?
Well, yes, technically it is. However, as the Italian in the room, while I grew up in Philadelphia, I'm just being honest, we were like taught that you would never do that. However, now that I know better, I do think so, because the friend has to know that this kid's going to get, or not kid, he's 22, but he's going to get caught, right? So my thing is, if he gets caught, and then they're obviously going to do a forensic download on his phone, they're going to see that he asked me, so even if I don't do it, if I still have the information, isn't it technically I would be an accomplice if I had that information, even if I don't do it?
It's a good question, and I guess it's a little bit of a gray area. To me, I'd have to read the messages, because the way it kind of sounds, and we're going to listen to the press conference here in a second, and we'll break down what they're saying and how it implements with what we know. It sounds like almost like there was an awareness of something that was happening. Like, wouldn't you question, like, what do you mean there's a rifle wrapped in a towel with some pretty crazy things engraved on some of the ammo? You get what I'm saying?
I do, but Do we know if the friend already knew that it happened? Because if he did, he might have been like, oh, wait. And I would be assuming that this wouldn't be like, I don't think it would be like if you went on Discord and was like, Jane, do me a favor. Like, there's not the red flags there before. Like, I bet we're going to see that this friend already knew that there was red flags, kind of like with Koberger, right? And that when this happened, him asking, I feel like was like validation that it could be him. I feel like when it wouldn't just be somebody out of the blue like that. Like, it wouldn't be a you or me.
Right.
Like
But what I'm saying is like the context of the questions, like it's just kind of like, it feels like, hey, I left a rifle. I need you to pick it up in the middle of, or it sounds like he's just saying the rifle's over here in the bush.
So he didn't say what it was in connection to.
Right. He may not have said what it was in connection to, but with a little bit of context, doesn't that imply that the person may know what it's in connection to already?
That's what I'm thinking. Yes, that the person might already know what it's in connection to, especially if it was like on the route from this, universe or the school to wherever he was going. So, and why would somebody just say that, just kind of like the other guy, like you had to investigate because he said, I have the right to remain silent. And we were all like, wait, what? Why is this guy saying that? The older guy. So I feel like you have to take it somewhat serious, right? I might be like, dude, are you serious? Like, you're joking, right?
Well, one of the things that I think it's like missing some context. Like let's were to play this out. If I was your roommate and all of a sudden I'm just like gun in a bush wrapped in a towel, you're going to be like, what are you talking about? What is this about? Now, if you knew that I committed this crime and that I'm on the run and I attend gun in the bush wrapped in a towel, you know what I'm talking about. If I'm giving you, little information. So to me, we'd have to see the messages. Mm-hmm. If it's something very like simple like that, like just very to the point. And to me, that means that you're probably looking at somebody who was aware of what was going on. And I would be very suspicious of that person. Now, if the conversation was like, hey, I left a rifle in the woods, in a bush, can you go pick it up for me? If it's like that detailed, then that kind of tells me that the person probably didn't have knowledge beforehand that this was going down. Does that make sense?
Oh, so you're implying that maybe the person knew beforehand. I was thinking more like when it all occurred, the person kind of like with the white Elantra put it together, knowing that his friend already was maybe troubled.
No, I'm thinking maybe the guy knew beforehand, which is why he's getting directions as to where these things are. Now, I don't know that for certain. I want to see the messages.
Problem. That would be a problem.
It would be. And I think that would have to be clarified. You know what I'm saying?
That would be a big problem. I thought you meant after the fact.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it to me, if somebody is using little, and we'll hear what he says right now, but if they use a little bit of words, I think that's a red flag. And let's tune in. Let's listen to part of it, and we'll pause it and we'll break it down. Real quick
before you put it on, everybody take notice. I haven't heard it yet, but everybody take notice when people, because you said when you use little words, psychologically, when you don't make a full sentence, that you're more likely lying. So if you just say like gun in bushes instead of the gun is in the bushes, so that's a red flag right there. So I guess we should all listen for that when we listen to this.
Also, take notice of the awesome shirt that Dr. Vona is wearing. It is her new merch shirt. Go check that out. You can get that. Tell people where you can get it.
Right on my YouTube page at the Minds Behind True Crime with Dr. Vona. I'm so excited. It's my first merch and it came in and I got it washed in time, so I'm wearing it.
There you go. All right, let's tune into what they said here during this press conference. I'm sorry, I started that a little bit quick. He said that somebody, a family friend or a friend of Tyler Robinson.
We didn't say it.
He didn't say it, but we do know now.
No, we didn't see it. We didn't see it.
Oh, you didn't see it?
No.
All right, let me rewind it. It did not come. Oh, I didn't.
You didn't share it to the stage.
My mistake. All right, that's a good thing. I was getting it ready. It was going way too fast. I had it sped up because I was listening to it. All right, let's.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We got him. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident.
All right. So the first thing that goes on is that, and we've gotten a little bit of news about this. This ended up being Tyler, his father, who is, I believe, some form of ex-law enforcement. He had I guess his son, he recognized the son off the images that they had. His son no longer attended that college. I'm not sure if he ever attended that college. I know he attended a college, but I'm not sure if it was that one. I'm assuming it was because he kind of looked like he knew his way around that campus. Maybe he had been there a couple of days before to get the layout and things of that nature. But he could have also have been there before. But he was not a student at that campus at the time. And so he actually, those images that came out, he recognized his son, and I guess confronted him, and his son said, yeah, that it was him. And so they ended up contacting a minister who was also, I think, tied with the marshals or law enforcement of some sort. And he went in and did some sort of confession, and then they ended up getting turned in. But there was apparently also some talk between Tyler and I guess his father that Tyler was suicidal at some point. And so, I guess his father talked him out of that and talked him into turning himself in.
Do you think that means that dad not knew beforehand, but knew that his son was troubled more than just wanting to take his own life?
I would assume so. It's I got some things that I've seen. I'm still trying to validate, but one of the things that I read was that, like, I guess his family was like Republican and he had some different views. That apparently, and he talks about this, that in the days leading up to this, that they saw some signs, so to speak, that he was talking with hate and things of that nature. And so I think that he probably knew that there was some signs there of something. I don't think anybody really thinks that their child is capable of doing something horrific like this. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so
no, but how many families in the United States have parents that are one political view and kids that are different? Like, I see this all the time in university and college. So, but I guess you would have to have that mixed with the troubled, whatever his behavior is. I don't know what we're going to find out. But I think it's that mix there. So it wouldn't just be, in my opinion, that it was just a difference in views. To me, it would have to be something more than that, because I think we see that often.
Well, I think this guy became, I think he was, he's described as a Reddit guy by a guy that knew him in high school, that he was constantly online. I think he was very impressionable, and I think he got impressed by the wrong folks. And some of the things that he engraved on the ammunition is kind of some signs of that. Louder with Crowder came out saying that it was transgender in nature. There's a phrase there that's a little bit weird that is sometimes used in the furry memes, which is odd because we brought that up in our last conversation, the furries. And I don't mean to say that in any disrespectful way. I don't know if it's called the furries or not. I wasn't familiar with it until recently. And so, well, anywho, that ended up being some sort of meme with that. But I when I Google searched it, I found another alternative meaning behind it. And I'll talk more about that when we get to that point. But yeah, it seems like, in my opinion, there might be some sort of connection with like Antifa type of thing.
I didn't hear that yet. So I am interested to see what's behind that. But it does seem like he's been radicalized for sure.
Yeah.
And again, when people get radicalized, you guys, that's more of something to do with that lack of identity development. If you have a strong identity, it's harder to become radicalized than someone who's searching for an identity because they're lacking one. So I think we're starting, like, we see these common themes, right? And amongst these 20-year-olds that, you know, we see in these different crimes. And I think that that's something to take note of as well.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's tune in. And obviously, based on his act, what he engraved, he was not conservative whatsoever.
This information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and scene investigators at Utah Valley University. This information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional video footage from UVU surveillance and identified Robinson arriving on UVU campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29 a.m. on September 10th, in which he is observed on video in a plain maroon t-shirt, light-colored shorts, a black hat with a white logo, and light-colored shoes. When encountered in person by investigators in Washington County on September 12th, in the early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with those surveillance images. Investigators interviewed a family.
So it sounds like he had changed at some point, but when they found him at his house, he changed back into the clothing. What do you think about that when it comes to the psyche of somebody?
Almost as if like he was. Now, do we know if the clothing was like washed and stuff, or was it? Because wasn't that? But either way, I think it would say that would show confidence, right? Because usually you would think that somebody would get rid of that, not put it back on.
Do you think he was wanting to get caught?
Right. That's what. So confidence in what he did, as far as like, you know, eventually taking. I mean, he had on the clothes. I can't believe that. I didn't know that. That's.
Yeah, he changed at some point, and we looked at the video. I'm not sure if that was the last time when you were on, if they had that video, but or if it was the last time I was on. They had a video of him limping. But did you see that where he was limping outside of the house on the?
No, I only saw the one where we saw somebody running across the roof.
Okay.
We didn't know yet.
So they had another one where he was limping, and I believe it's because he has the rifle tucked in his back, underneath the backpack, and down his back leg, and I think he has something in his pocket up front, and but because of the bulkiness of the gun in the back of his leg, it's making his pants look weird. Well, anyways, that's why it's preventing him from really bending his leg correctly. Well, in that video, you see him walking towards the event before it happens, and then they flash to it afterwards, and you can see him in the distance running. And when he's running, he's like, you can see him in really dark clothing, and then he goes behind a house, and he's behind this house for a significant long time. In fact, there's some people in the foreground now. He's just behind the house, so it looks far in the camera, but it's probably not that far. And there's some people in the foreground who are walking, and they're kind of going at the same pace, and they continue past the house, and you do not see him come across for a good while. And when he does, and when you see him running, it almost appears that he's wearing shorts. And so I think that's when he changed, when he was running behind the houses. He's going to say that it's on the roof, and he changed into shorts, but that's not accurate because we saw him jumping off the roof. And so I think I think there's just that mistake when they're explaining that.
So he probably had the shorts underneath, I'm assuming. And
that, or they were in the backpack. The backpack looked pretty full.
I would think that you would like be more prepared than to have to change all the way. But I mean, either way, what's the difference?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think he prepared very much. I mean, he wasn't wearing any gloves. He was wearing clothes that he's been wearing for a very long time. The shoes, we have images of those shoes when he started college. And so, he had already graduated. And so he'd had them for years. He didn't wear anything on his face. So, he would have pressed up against the rifle, and there would have been skin cells and DNA that were left behind because of that. And so to me, based on all those things, and, I don't think he's a stupid person. It sounds like it was something that was done relatively quickly. It was almost a, last minute type of thing where he decided he was going to do it.
No, I could definitely agree with that. And he's obviously intelligent, right? If he graduated college already. So I would assume that he knows that there's probably cameras. So if he didn't wear a face mask, wouldn't that just say that he intended that he would get caught, or he knew that he would get caught? And so Because why wouldn't he try to disguise himself at all?
Well, I mean, I think maybe he thought that he could get away with just the glasses and the hat, and thought if he kept looking down, but the guy looked up several times. Um, you know,
That's
that's a
crazy.
good question. I just think that it's more so like he didn't account for anything DNA wise, and he left the palm print, footprints, left the weapon behind, ran behind behind some houses and changed there. But yeah, it's interesting, and I was just kind of wondering what the psyche told you about him changing back into it. If that was
I
maybe
feel
he
like,
enjoyed it.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I feel like that would be him, like, being confident in the fact that this is what he did. And maybe by then he knew that he was getting caught regardless because his parent or his dad knew that it was him. So maybe he already, like, he comes to terms with the fact that he's getting caught regardless. He puts it back on, and that says to me almost like, yeah, I did this.
Yeah,
That's
crazy.
terrible.
Let's continue.
Member Robinson, who stated that
Maybe rewind it just a little bit.
September 12th, in the early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with those surveillance images. Investigators
See, that was September 12th in the early morning hours. He was seen with consistent clothing as what was seen in the images. So that's when that's what that means, that he was back in the same clothes.
interviewed a family member of Robinson who stated that Robinson had become more political in recent years. The family member referenced a recent incident in which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, and in the conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints that he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger. Investigators identified an individual as the roommate of Robinson. Investigators interviewed that roommate, who stated that his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord.
Made a joke on Discord. He took it as a joke.
If he took it as a joke, then I don't know that he knew anything before. I mean, other than the fact that maybe he knew that his friend was troubled. So when it happened, he might have been like, oh, this might not be a joke.
Maybe. I mean, maybe. I think what he's thinking is that the shooting happens, and the guy's like, "Hey, I left my rifle in the bushes. Go pick it up for me." And he's thinking, "Ha, that's funny."
Right, because he would have known that he didn't care for this particular politician. So you're right. I absolutely agree with that. But that also makes me feel like the friend didn't really know much, or the roommate.
It's possible. I'm still iffy on it. You know, he could say it was just a joke because he doesn't want to go to jail or whatever.
True.
But, he would have known, like you mentioned, that his friend doesn't like Charlie Kirk if they're roommates and they were close enough that he would have asked him to go retrieve the weapon. Because there's got to be a little bit of trust there and a little bit of, there's more to, you don't just randomly ask somebody. I think that you'd have to be pretty close to them. And if you're that close to them, you probably know a little bit about their beliefs.
But do you think he could have really thought like his friend was just joking? Like I feel like I would make like a bad joke like that. Like if I didn't like someone, which I'd like everyone, just so everybody knows. But if I did, like, I could see myself making a bad joke, but then I don't have a rifle for anybody to come find. So, but in this case, like, I wonder if the friend was just like, oh, like that was a bad joke, but like, he was just kidding. I don't know. I want to believe that the roommate didn't know, but I could see why you're the ex-cop and I'm not.
I do see your point. There has been a little bit of a desensitivity of this by some of the younger crowd. I've seen some 3D toys of Charlie being shot with blood coming out, and they're handing that out. There's T-shirts that say "Debate Now," and
What?
Yeah, I mean, this is some horrible things that are coming out immediately.
So wait, Daniel, if there's a shirt that says "Debate Now," that makes me think that video of that might be real. The one where he supposedly debates him.
I mean, that's a real video, but I don't think that's him.
You don't?
No, his voice sounds different, and his face, like his chin and stuff, don't match. The hair, I mean, when I first saw it, I was like, man, this definitely could be him, but
because that would be really like weird. Not weird, but that would make sense. But I don't know. To me, it looked like him, but I hear what you're saying. It very much might not be.
Yeah, I'm not too certain. But let's go back. Remember, this is a joke to this guy. Let's see what he says.
Made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show them the messages on Discord. He opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown by Robinson's roommate. These photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate's device. The content of these messages included messages affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to a...
Leaving a rifle in a bush. See, it seems kind of vague.
It is pretty vague. And then in a tail, right?
Yeah. And it also seems kind of like specific because that's how they found it and stuff like that. But he's like, it's
Could
weird.
you be more suspicious because you're used to like investigating stuff, and maybe I'm not as suspicious because I'm thinking of it in the psychological realm?
That's a big possibility. I'm suspicious of everybody.
That's what I mean. Well, that's what I'm saying. So like it's your nature. Like that's
Yeah.
what you know what I mean? So I do more the psychology part, you do more that interrogation part. So I would think that like you would automatically be more suspicious, which that's you probably should be, and then you could, rule something out. Where to me, I try to give people I try to play devil's advocate, and trust me, it's like my best and worst quality. So I get it, but I could see why you would be suspicious.
I am suspicious, but I'm also trying to be reasonable, which is why I say it depends on how it comes out. I give two options. I say, all right, if it comes out more elaborate, like, hey, I left this there, I need you to go pick it up, blah, 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 blah. Then that probably is an indication that the person didn't know. If it's vague, it's probably an indication that the person was aware, and that's why they don't need more context, because he knows what he's talking about. And so it's not so much that I'm suspicious because I'm, just suspicious. It's suspicious that he messaged him. I find it suspicious that he didn't call 911 or didn't inform authorities. Nothing. He must have known, like I mentioned, the views of the views of Robinson. Had he been his roommate, he probably knows how politically, which way he sways and the hate that he spews towards him and his dislike for him. And so,
but you would also have to know that person's capable of that. Like there's a lot of people that hate people.
Right. But you also got a picture of this guy walking through the halls. His dad noticed who it was. I mean, you don't think you would have recognized your friend on that stairway if you had a friend?
But that would have been after the fact. So we're really talking like, what did he know? Like what did he know and when did he know it type thing. So maybe after the fact, but I'm trying to think, this is my thing. If he said, go pick up my, gun in the bush, then it's like, okay, how did he know what bush he was talking about? But if he said like, more detailed, like.
That's true too. You bring a good point. Let me rewind it. I'm not sure if that's what he says.
Affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle.
Retrieving a rifle from a drop point. It's an interesting way to say it.
Yeah, because he doesn't say whether he knew what the drop point was, and that would be a big indication of whether, he possibly knew more or not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he may not have known exactly where he was going to drop it off.
Yeah, but Daniel, if I was like, Daniel, can you go grab my gun in the bush? I would assume that you would need to know what bush or where to go to get it.
Right. But what I'm saying is like, even if I knew that you were going to do something, I may not have known which bush you were going to drop it in. I mean, there's a lot of variables on which bush you could have discarded it at. You may have discarded, like, is it always the plan to discard it in the bush?
Well, that's what I'm saying. If he knew beforehand, I would think that they would have known beforehand, like, and then I'm going to drop it in this bush right here type thing. So if he doesn't say where the bush is, that would make me a little bit more suspicious. But if he says like the third bush to the left after the light, like, then not so much.
Yeah, maybe.
In a bush, messages related to visually watching the area where a rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. The messages also refer to engraving bullets and a mention of a scope and the rifle being unique. Messages from the contact, Tyler, also mentioned that he had changed outfits.
So with so much detail, where do you think it doesn't change from a joke?
Oh, when he starts adding more detail than him just making like that hateful first remark. Like I might have said, thought that was a joke, but then if he starts talking about clothing and stuff, then that's a little bit more. So, but again, how do you know? And they lived really far away. So it wasn't like they lived down the street. So that also, again, just like with Bethany, right? I try to think of that stuff too. People are very quick to ask her a lot of questions, but what if this friend just didn't even think that like his friend was capable of that? But what if he did? I guess we need to really find out, and that would all be important. Like you said, it's context.
Right. There's some context missing. I like to get some more of it.
I agree with that.
I'm a little bit suspicious of this roommate. Not necessarily I think there's a good possibility that maybe they weren't involved or had any idea, but to not report any of this is very weird. You know what I mean?
Would you report it if it was like Jaime?
Yeah, I'd have to.
Okay.
I mean, you know, I'd have to.
All right, you guys. So this is the deal. If I ever do anything, I need a backup because Daniel is not who I could get.
Don't take anybody's life like that.
I would never.
I mean, if
I'm this sensitive person. I would never do that. I'm just.
It was like, a bad guy. I'm just kidding.
But you're right though too, right? Because if one of our friends did do that, like, are they really, the person that you thought they were?
That's true.
You're probably right. Like you probably should. I would hope that I would.
To me, and maybe it's just because I know I know a lot about investigations and how they work. If you're approaching me, there's like it's over. It's done for. If you messaged me, you called me, you text me, there's a trace, there's a trail. And so there's no way. And I'm not going to go to jail and, for my family and everything else for somebody else. And so that's kind of where I'm at on that.
And what I probably would do in this situation is talk to my husband and he would be the voice of reason. But I don't know. I'm just being honest, and please nobody judge me for this, or if you do, whatever. But I don't know that my initial reaction would be like, let me call the police. But I would tell my husband and he would say, you need to call the police.
It's a weird position to be in. Everybody can easily say, oh yeah, I would call, I would do this, or I would do that.
Yeah, I'm just being honest. I don't know.
Like this guy, his father is the one who called the police. The governor there was very open about the death penalty being the punishment, and yet he was willing to turn in his son. What do you think about that?
Say that again.
The governor was very open about the death penalty being what they're going to pursue in this crime. I
would expect that, because I feel like we need to let other people know that want to, maybe what's the word I'm looking for? Do like a repeat of it, that you shouldn't do that. Like you'll get the death penalty if you do that. So I would hope that you would have to come with the strongest charges because of that.
Right. No, I don't disagree, but the father knew that. He was probably well aware of what the punishment is. He's law enforcement of some degree. I believe ex-law enforcement.
A few people said that they came out and said that they didn't know, that the father wasn't in law enforcement. So I'm not sure. I think we need to double check it.
Yeah, I saw that there was a one sheriff department saying that the sheriff that works at their department wasn't the same guy. I don't know. Maybe he's military or something. It could be a different one. But it was all over the news, and I'm assuming that they probably, especially if they're Republican and their views are what they're, are typical Republican views, I think they're probably well aware the death penalty exists there in Utah, and yet he still turned in his son.
April brings up a good point. He says that I forgot that there was a priest or a pastor there too. So the dad could have I'm just trying to, but the dad could have also been like now that the priest also knows, that he's going to tell, I have to tell.
I think the dad called the priest and told him.
Gotcha. So that would be like me telling my husband, knowing that he's probably going to talk me into doing the right thing. I get it.
Yeah. Let's continue this.
I know there's been speculation as well as to the writing on those casings, those bullet casings, and I believe we have that as well. And I will share that with you now. So the area north of Campus Drive Road where the suspect crossed over, you saw some of that in the video that we released last night, consists of a grassy area with trees on the edge of the UVU campus. Investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark colored towel. The rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 98 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. The rifle had a scope mounted on top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices, bulges, capital OWO, what's this, question mark."
So that one is the one that's referred to as a meme of some sort with the furries. Notices, bulges, OWO, what's this, question mark. When I did a Google search on it, I found something that was like about 7-8 years old. And it was a weird, like back and forth conversation that came through. That was a homosexual in nature. It sounded like an older man sitting with a boy saying, "What's this bulge?" and notices it, and does some nasty things. But it's also connected to, apparently, and I'm not sure how, but I haven't seen that. But there's some memes with some furries with the OWO, notices, bulges, that also goes through that as well. I know that Louder with Crowder said that there was some sort of transgender aspect to this. Maybe that's what they were referring to. I didn't see that aspect from when I searched it. Anything transgender to do with it, but what are your thoughts?
I didn't see either. And I think if anything, could that have been like, do we know this from the law enforcement, or could that have been like from that rumor from the other night with the other person that they thought was a suspect? Like, do we know if that is still a thing, or was that just when
What do you mean? What a thing?
About the transgender thing? Like, I don't know if that's really like still with this real suspect, or do you remember the first night when we did this, there was another suspect? So do you think that that's from that? Like,
no.
How do we know that it has to do, like, what would be the chances of both?
What do you mean?
Like, of the suspect that they thought the other night and this suspect both having like I feel like the transgender thing was when they thought it was tied to that other person.
Oh, gotcha.
I publicly apologize that we publicly apologize because we did not, like, we weren't trying to, but it was already out there. We didn't put it out there.
Yeah, we stayed away from it. We didn't. I think we even said that I was very skeptical on it being.
Yes, we did.
The person, because they wouldn't put out pictures if they had a name already.
And do you think that was tied to that and not necessarily this person?
No, this was something that they got in a briefing.
Oh.
And so it was from a briefing from ATF. And from what I understand is Louder with Crowder ended up getting some sort of subpoena or another. And so, I think that's what they end up, some sort of subpoena. And
that's interesting.
And this is something that was like, oh gosh, 7 years ago. And this was like, notices your bulge, OWO, what's this, question mark. And it's like some weird stuff. This is like a lot of weird stuff comes out when you search this. Yeah, it's pretty weird. I don't know. I mean, I saw some other stuff about people online saying it has something to do with furries, but I don't know. I don't know what the connection is.
So I think that the reason that came up, just to like clear that up a little bit, that also, and whether this person does identify that way or not, I think that also, when we brought it up, it also came up as a result of talking about just people that we were, that we supported any way that people identified. But in this way, that would be something that somebody could identify as. So it's not just male or female people identify as. There's non-binary. We talked about that the other night, where the person doesn't identify with either. There's fairy. Yeah. So like, there's just so many different categories. So I wouldn't be surprised if if the ferry over, I don't know. I just didn't think the transgender part was tied to this guy, but I definitely am open to, open to it. How weird is that though? Not weird. Like how ironic is that though, that the suspect that they thought, or could they have thought that it was that suspect last night because of that? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't. I think they, I don't think so. I think they were looking at it from the things that were written. And that was the first one that was written. Let's see what else was written. I think that was the one that I think was the one in the chamber.
Wow.
Yeah. So the next, here are the next ones.
Are we frozen?
Oh, hold on. I forgot to put everything back on. I keep doing that. I'm over here just tuning in and like, all right, because I'm over here watching it. All right,
You prepared a lot, so we could forgive you.
So the area north of Campus Drive Road where the suspect crossed over.
Let me try to go back to where we were.
The rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 98 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. The rifle had a scope mounted on top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on casings found with the rifle. Inscriptions on a fired casing read, "Notices, bulges, capital OWO, what's this, question mark." Inscriptions on the 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascist, exclamation point, catch, exclamation point." Up arrow symbol, right arrow, and symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols.
So first he says, "Hey fascist, catch." Obviously, very much coming across, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, very Antifa-ish. Catch was like as in like catch this. And then the up arrow, side arrow, 3 down arrows. He says up arrow, side arrow, and then there was a symbol and then a 3 down arrow symbol. Now, to me, that could be one of a couple things. I think some people were saying that the up, side, down, down, down is some sort of move in some sort of game that something happens. But the 3
I was going to
down
say
ones,
it reminds me of the code from Mike Tyson's Punch Out. It was like up, down, right, left, right, or up, down, left, right. That's what it reminded me of. So it's crazy that you said that.
but the other one is that he said it was kind of like 2 symbols, one up, one to the right, and then 1 3 down. If that ends up being the case, the Antifa symbol is 3 downward arrows.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And so I don't know which one it could be. I don't know if it is, then I'm not sure what the significance of the up and right arrow are. And I know that the Antifa symbol is the 3 arrows, but they're pointing at an angle. I'm not sure that would be easy to do on a curved ammunition round to engrave. Angled off as versus straight down, which is, would make a difference also on the up and the side one, because they might be made that way because of how easy they are. So those were those 2. Go ahead.
That's interesting. And the fascist one, so just for people, all right, so people are saying, and I just have to address this in the comments. This is the thing, you guys. So, and I don't know, this might make people dislike me, but whatever, I don't care. I'm not looking, whatever. But I am a professor. So I seen even the other night, people were like, oh, something about professors and Antifa and all this stuff. This is the thing. And people are saying he got radicalized by Antifa and they're all over the campus or something, or campuses. I don't know if that's what it's like there. I could tell you that in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, all the colleges and universities I've ever worked at, I've never seen anything as far as political, political hate or anything on either side. I haven't seen any of it. And I've literally I work 14 hours a day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And I rotate from 3 for 2 universities and 2 colleges in 2 states. And I've been doing this for 21 years. So could that be like that in other states? Absolutely. Could it just be that I haven't seen it over here in Pennsylvania and New Jersey? Absolutely. But I do want to clear that up. Like, I don't think that that's something that's just like prevalent everywhere.
And I'll say this, that there's probably some places and some professors that do. And there's probably in some places where you have
some professors, though, they would be, I feel like, because even I was hesitant, right, to even talk about this because I was afraid. When you're a professor, you're not supposed to, talk about political views and stuff outright. So, and I'm not doing that either way. But I don't know. I don't know. I feel like we need to be careful with all of that because until we know, if we find out that they really got radicalized on campus, I would 100% be into that. And Alicia said about New Jersey being a leftist state, then Pennsylvania is a right-wing one. So I see it in both. Like, there's somebody down the street who made their tree branches, like the bottoms, into a Trump sign. Like, there's 4 trees and they turned it into 4 to Trump. And it's so like I have it in both states. So, and neither one, I feel like both can go hard for the other side, and neither one of them have I ever seen, or none of my students have ever said, like, Dr. Vona, I'm getting harassed, or anybody's even talking to me about this or that. And I feel like students talk to me about a lot. So I don't know. I would just be cautious about that. Now, if we find out that absolutely happened, I'm not going to say I don't believe something, but until I hear that, I personally want to stay away from the Antifa.
Right. Well, there is some stuff that kind of goes that direction. I want to preference there's the next few things that kind of lead that direction. But I don't know if he was Antifanized at school or if that's something that he found online and started following on Reddit.
I could totally see getting radicalized online. It was more about the colleges and universities that I didn't see as much.
Right. And so that's what I'm thinking. I mean, there was even, like, if you go back and I don't recommend anybody go back and watch, but there's these clips of, there's this guy celebrating immediately after the shooting. He jumps up, everybody's ducking down, hiding, and he's doing this. Like, excited that this guy just got murdered in front of everybody.
That's disgraceful.
Yeah. And then you had the guy there that was willing to take the blame so that this guy probably can get away. I don't know if they had any connection together, but he probably saw the opportunity to make a name for himself, get himself out there, and also be a part of the cause, so to speak, of this guy getting away. You had some people that were there that were farly against what Charlie spoke about and his political views there. And to some extent, it appeared, look at that one dude in the front cheering. Like, this guy just got murdered. He's a father and his life just got taken away, and he's there cheering.
That's terrible. No matter what your political views are, that's terrible. We should never, ever cheer for that.
Yeah. And so let's listen to the next one, because this is the one that I think is pretty telling.
A second unfired casing read, "Oh, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Ciao, Ciao." And a third unfired casing read, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO."
All right. So the first one, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao. A song about anti-fascism from back in the day. And also I think it's like the anthem for Antifa as well. And let me pull this up real quick. I think his name was, where was it? Ken something or another. Let me pull it up. No, it's not Ken. It's William Van Sprossen. He had a trans name of Emma Dorwith. And this guy had he had a manifesto. He was part of Antifa, had some sort of plan against ICE. And on his manifesto, he ended it with Bella Ciao.
Isn't that like hello, beautiful?
Goodbye, beautiful.
Goodbye, beautiful. Well, hello or goodbye, I guess, would
Yeah.
be right.
But in the song, that the Bella Ciao, the way it's because it's oh Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao, Bella Ciao. That's a song, and so in that song, it's referencing, I believe, goodbye.
I'm gonna have to look into the song definitely more. That would, I mean, it would definitely, in my opinion, go with the song. I don't see why it wouldn't. So, and if the song is then tied to somebody, I mean, I could see where you might think about the Antifa thing. I get it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not just that. I mean, you have the catch this fascist, or however you say the word.
Yeah, fascist.
Fascist. There we go. I was struggling, guys. This is like my third live today, so forgive me.
You've been working hard all day. Tell everybody.
I have. That's why my voice sounds kind of different. It
you sound like me the other night after I worked for 14 hours. Now today I'm like well rested. I definitely am more well rested than I was. Now like we switch spots.
Exactly. And so I think there's something there. I mean, was he part of Antifa? Maybe, maybe not. Did he believe in some of their ideologies? It kind of sounds that way at the very least. Natalie comes in saying, and that's my opinion, guys. Natalie comes in $9.99. My son explained the arrows as an exceptional move in the video game Helldivers 2. Up, right, down, down. I think it was only one right, though. It was up, right, and then down, down, down. But I remember somebody, I think it was Brian Ensign, who said it was part of a video game, and that if you did that there was some bombs that would be dropped. And so it's quite possible it was a video game.
What does could she tell like go? What's that video game like? What kind of video game is it, Natalie?
Helldivers 2 sounds like a war game.
Okay, and just to like put it out there, what are the chances of it being an Italian? Like I was like, oh, I know what that means. Leave it up to us Italians. I don't get it.
All right, this time I'm bringing it back up, and we're gonna play it.
We are indebted to law enforcement across the state who's worked seamlessly together, local law enforcement, state law enforcement, and our federal partners with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. We're grateful for everyone who worked together in such a short amount of time to find this person and to bring justice. I want to thank the public who has been so engaged, reviewing videos, helping us with sending in tips, and helping us get to this point. I want to thank the family members of Tyler Robinson who did the right thing in this case and were able to bring him into to law enforcement as well.
You know, AZ goes up, right, down, 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 delivered promptly for maximum democracy. Creepy. What if it's like a weird? I don't know. Maybe it's a. I don't know. I play a lot of escape games, so maybe my mind is going a little bit far here. But upright being like far right, down, down, down. Maybe he has 3 targets in mind.
I don't even know what that would mean, but I will look into it. But wait, I think there's something really important we need to discuss. Why not walk it? Said Daniel, you're making it sound like you're pro-fascist. He is not pro-fascist, you guys. I just wanted to put that out there real quick. And we knew that that's what Hitler was. Daniel definitely is not pro-fascist. I wouldn't be friends with him if he was.
Oh, yeah. Well, not everybody that disagrees with you is a fascist.
I didn't know because I don't usually see that person. So I didn't know if they just didn't know you well enough. So I just wanted to clear that up that nobody here is pro-fascist.
No. Well, anywho, the upright, far right, down, down, down. Could you think that maybe that's what they're trying? Maybe he had 3 targets in mind.
I don't know. I think that's looking into it a little bit much. First, I would see if it had something to do with that video game thing. And if so, I would see what the relevance was. I would also ask the roommate because chances are the roommate would know what that means. Like if this person had very Like if they had beliefs that they really believed, chances are the roommate knows their belief system as well. So that's who I would ask, like, what did he mean by this? Because it literally could mean, I mean, I'm sure there's a meaning, obviously. You wouldn't put it on there if it wasn't. But I don't know that it would have been like, I don't know. But I do think that the roommate could provide, insight into it.
It's a good possibility. I'm just curious because he says that I sound like I'm fascist. What about pointing out that he is Antifa is me being fascist? I don't understand that logic.
Well, that's why I wanted to make sure I brought up, because I don't want anyone to think that either one of us are taking a political side, because we're just here to, not just, but we're here to to talk about true crime and stuff. And this is something that's going on that affects our whole country. So it's important that we all can rise above that.
I 100% agree. All right, let's fast forward this, and this is when they start asking questions, because everything in between here, it's good stuff. He talks about, what we need to do as a country. We're at a dividing point where, something serious has happened, and we can either come together or we can separate. But we're at a point. Do you subscribe to that belief that we're as a nation, that we're at a point of either coming together or it going pretty south? Or do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
So I would like to believe that we're stronger than that, right? Because I think that, there's been so many times in our history where, if you just look at the history of our country, there's been a ton of times where people have been up in arms. However, I think that the difference here is not the only part, but the part that really scares me is the social media aspect. So in a lot of those other times, there wasn't always social media around. So it does scare me with the social media part, because then it's like people can get radicalized easier. Other people, you could find, I think I told you guys this the other night, my research shows that 10% of the population posts 90% of political tweets. Yeah, it was Twitter. I did want to put that out there. And it was tweets when I did it, because it wasn't X yet. So it's X now. But with that being said, if you're following something and you're hearing more and more and more of it, and we all know that, like, once we go down, if you watch one video on YouTube, you find 3 or 4 more. Like, I don't let my kids look up something on my YouTube, because then I'll get it all the time and it's annoying. So I make them log out of my YouTube first, because the algorithm, right? So that same thing happens with anything. So if you look into something, you're going to get more of it and more of it and more of it. So, and we usually get more of what validates our thought process, because when we see something that doesn't validate our thought process, we usually skip past that and we're like, oh, they're stupid. Like, they don't know what they're talking about. And then we just find something that does. That's the part that scares me, because I feel like you can have your thought process, even if it's distorted, validated somewhere online. And that's the part that scares me, with the lack of identity.
Fair
So
point.
I don't know. What do you think? I think that it could go. I really would hope that when push comes to shove, I feel like we all need to remember that we're all living under the same roof, if you will. So, think about when you live with your family, how many people in your family get on your nerves growing up? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, but you have to learn how to coexist. And I feel like we have to figure out a way to coexist better. But part of that is helping our young find an identity and find a purpose. Because when you have a purpose, you're less likely to just throw it away and do something like this. So I feel like one of the common themes we see, other than the fact that it's usually in the 20s and often male, not always, but often, because I'm doing the Mackenzie Schrolla, so it's not always male. But right. I do think that we do need, even in her case, we need to set our young up better. As far as having an identity and having something to live for, and not just, taking their being young just for granted. Also, I think it's important to note that he was 22. Our brain's not fully developed, not our brain, the prefrontal cortex, the front part of the brain that houses decision-making, impulse control, problem solving. It's not completely done developing till we're 25. So we're more impulsive and stuff. So I feel like because of that, we need to remind our kids before that age of the consequences to behavior, because sometimes they're more likely to act on impulse and then think about, something afterwards, as opposed to being like, okay, if I do this, this is probably what's going to happen, and da da da. So if they think through it more, they're less likely to do the thing if they're not down for the consequence.
That's true. I mean, that's a valuable lesson that most people need to learn. It took me a long time to stop and think about what you're doing. Now, I never had any thoughts of doing anything crazy like this, but like, a lot of the mistakes that I've ever made in my life could have been avoided if I thought, stopped and thought about it. And I'm sure that can be the same for a lot of people. And it starts off young.
Yeah, and it literally comes down to like, it's not even just with something this egregious. It could be like having sex and then being like, oh crap, we didn't use a condom. Like it's literally, so it happens with like many decisions, not just something big. So like, you're right. A lot of the things that all of us went through when we were under 25, a lot of that goes back to a lack of brain development. It's not an excuse, but it does show that with a lack of brain development, we have to do better as parents, teachers, so on and so forth, to give them that outlet.
Right. And I think that, one of the things is, and kind of going back to what we're talking about, we are at a point, and I think there's other forces that are trying to divide us as a nation, and that's outside forces. There has been, things out there that appear to be one way to make people mad and create a response, and it's not always actually by other people. Like, for instance, there's some of it that's disgusting, that's real, but some of it's also propaganda from other places on social media to infuriate people, to try to separate, and that is a real thing as well. And so I think we're at a point where some of that stuff gets blurred. Some of it's truth, some of it's not. And I think that, I think the governor who mentioned this is absolutely correct, that this is a point where things can get better, or things can get really, really bad. And, some of the stuff that I see online about the celebrations and things of this young man's losing his life, and that only pushes other people away as well. That causes a reaction.
You're right, but I do think that it's important to note, because when you just talked about the weaponization, that was another part of my dissertation, is talking about the weaponization of news. And what people don't understand is a lot of times the people that we think are in our backyards cheering are not really, if you look up their IP address, they don't live here at all. So we also have to be weary of that too. I mean, now if there's news reports and we see people literally in the back, you get a video of them cheering, that's different. But just hearing it online by somebody who says that they're a United States citizen, just for anyone listening, don't make that be enough. Like, look into it further, because a lot of times it is propaganda from other places, knowing that they could get to us. So we have to be more diligent.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things to try to destroy a country is to divide a country. And if you don't think our foes are trying to do that, then we're extremely mistaken. And
if our country did break down, it would be because we couldn't keep a republic, and that would also have to do with us letting outside forces destroy us.
Exactly. Let me pull up a video here real quick. I'm going to pull it up this time. And this is somebody who went to school with Tyler Robinson that I wanted to play and get your opinion on.
I went to school with this Tyler Robinson kid.
All right, hold on. I need to boost up the audio on this one.
I went to school with this Tyler Robinson kid. I'll show y'all. That's him right there. Tyler Robinson. I'm not trying to like clout chase, make this shit about me, but I'm not gonna say I knew this kid really well. I didn't know him very well at all, but I definitely saw him for like 3 straight years in high school. And the best way I could describe him is just like a Reddit kid. I don't know. I feel like if you were in high school around that same time, and even probably now, like 2018, and then like, those kinds of kids, but that's exactly what he was. All I'm going to say is this is the kind of shit that happens when you spend way too much time online, and all of a sudden your beliefs are all the way this way or all the way this way, and you do some dramatic shit to please these people that are not your friends. This internet shit is seriously no joke.
I thought he was very accurate in what he was saying at the end. You
But
do these
that they're
things.
not your friends, right?
Exactly that. You have people that are cheering you on, like, like all these people that are online who are making these crazy outlandish statements, and then they're losing their jobs. But they make these statements and they're getting all these likes and all these people who like cheering them on that are not their friends, that aren't going to pay their bills.
Not at all. And they could also be what other people don't realize is if you live in a country where you have a dictator, you could spend years and years and years grooming other people. Like, so he could have made friends online that weren't, like you said, not only were they not their friends, but they could have actually been adversaries. And now you're, like this kid said, now you're trying to please this small group of people. And even for the people that were, United States citizens and things like that, a lot of them are just like, it's more of a fantasy type thing, but I don't know that everybody would go out there and actually do it, but it's easier to egg somebody on to do something like this. So it's just terrible because these aren't your friends, you guys, right? So, and I think that it's interesting though, right? Because then you could come to something like either one of our channels and we have the best subs on our channels, both of us. And I feel like you can find other people that you identify with that will be good people, but not everybody will. And we always have to remember that just because we think that somebody's into something we're into. So for example, if you were wearing a Steelers jersey, let's say the first time I was on with you and I said nothing about it, if I were to weaponize that later on, I would hold on to that for months. And then out of nowhere, I'd be like, oh, the Steelers are playing and make it seem like that's something I like. And then all of a sudden you'll be like, wait, you like the Steelers? And now you feel like we bonded. And what people need to realize is that, and I don't want people to live in fear, that there's nothing good about that. But at the same time, just be vigilant and just make sure that you're paying attention to these things.
Yeah. And the online aspect of it. What do you think about that? Do you think that there's a connection between some of these horrific crimes and addiction to being online?
1,000%. Even adults, and this is another thing. These are kids who, a lot of them were babysat online. So, maybe their parents work from home, or maybe their parents were just home doing stuff or wherever, and they gave them the phone or the iPad. And kids have this stuff from like 1 year old. And, so if that's what you grew up and that's what I don't know. And it's impossible as parents. Like, it's one thing to tell parents like, oh, you have to go check your kid's phone. I promise you the research shows that your kid's smart and that they're going to delete that or put it in a file or make it a calculator app. What about that Chris Watts calculator where he put in a number and it opened up to a whole new cheating world? So Our kids are 5 steps ahead of us. So if we don't think, like, even if you check your kid's phone, I feel like sometimes that could be more damaging in the sense, and again, it depends on how old they are. And you have to have rules, but sometimes you can make your kids sneakier instead of teaching them about your expectations and then holding them accountable for when they're not meeting expectations, and expectations, not being too hard on them, but having morals.
Yeah.
Some of these parents don't have morals. That's the problem.
That is the problem. Natalie comes in with $49.99. Thank you so much, Natalie, for all your support and always being here, and we truly appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Natalie's awesome.
He wore our flag eagle on his shirt while exercising his right to bear arms, then takes Charlie's life for exercising his First Amendment right to freedom of speech in a peaceful manner. He called Kirk hateful. No way to unpack that neatly.
That's so true. And not only that, I think what she's saying here too is so important, is that, like, and it's kind of like when you hit your kid for hitting someone, that never worked. So it's like he took someone's life because he didn't like that person was so extreme or whatever. So it's like he wound up doing worse than what he was accusing the person would have done. It's crazy.
It is. And thank you so much, Natalie, for your support. Thank you. It is crazy. You're absolutely right. This whole thing is. All right, let's go to the Q&A on this, and then we'll wrap it up.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
Can you speak to whether the suspect is speaking with authorities and his demeanor, Tyler Robinson, when he turned himself in?
I cannot speak to that.
So the question was, if he was cooperating, he can't speak to that. Do you think he's going to cooperate? Do you think that, I mean, he turned himself in. Do you think they're going to try to plea for to throw out the DP?
Isn't that so annoying that that's an option? Like,
It
I
is.
feel like that shouldn't even be an option sometimes. Like, enough with this. Like, it's almost like it's not even taken seriously that much anymore, because it's like, oh, they'll just play out. Like, they'll say they're guilty so that they won't get that. But I feel like sometimes you have to stand up for something or you fall for everything.
Given the fact that there was people celebrating this on campus there, so there's the assumption that they live in the community, or
They
at
were
least
on
have
campus?
access. The one dude that was cheering with his hair all long,
Was he part of the crowd?
he was part of the crowd. He was up front. He was literally there. Everybody was ducking, and he got up. Well, he started cheering. He was kneeling down doing this number, and then he got up and he was like that. As Charlie lost his life.
What the fuck? What's wrong with people?
Yeah. I mean, do you think there'd be a fear of having somebody of that caliber on the jury?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Same thing with BK, right? We were all afraid that a pro burger would be there. So it's like, I think that you always have to worry about that. But I also think, especially in this situation, I mean, I know that Chloe works. Chloe could probably tell us better, but with jury selection, I would hope that there would be some way to try to wean out as many people as you can like that, but you really don't know. But I mean, do they look, when you're doing jury duty, do they like look at your social media and stuff to see what your views are to make sure you're not?
I don't think so.
No. So it's more of like the honor system.
There's another case I followed that I'm fairly positive they didn't look into the social media of the people that were on that jury.
So the honor system. And we all know how the honor system works.
I would hope in a case this serious, they would. It is different.
Chloe says yes.
I'm sure that they try, but I would think, because there was, I'll leave the other case out of this, but I would hope so. And I'm thinking this is definitely going to be like a federal situation. I'm not sure if the state is going to handle it. Maybe they will. But because he didn't travel across country or anything like that, I'm not sure if this would be a federal case or not. If it was, I would probably trust the way they do things more than the state level, as far as picking a jury pool and things of that nature.
Well, it's good to know that Chloe says that the law clerks will be in the final rounds of jury selecting, scrolling the socials. So that's at least good to know, because if they didn't do it at all, that would be just really scary.
Oh, I mean,
but people could delete it, right? I mean,
exactly. People just, they know it's coming up. They delete it now, and what can you do? You never know until they come back on about 20 minutes after the jury, and they followed everybody that is on the defendant side on social media within 20 minutes. It's a pretty big clue that they probably deleted it because they didn't have one beforehand, supposedly. And so this is another case that I'm talking about, obviously. But yeah, those things it's not very difficult for somebody to just, if they lived in that area and be like, all right, I'm going to delete it now because I know in the next 2 years or so, they're going to be looking for people.
And not just that, Casey Marie brings up a good point. Like things like Facebook, if you're private, unless like you're a friend of a friend, like there's only so much you could see anyway.
That's true. That is true. And so, I don't know how much background checking they can do, but that's one of my biggest concerns is, it's going to be that area. I don't know what the political views of the area are, and not necessarily saying that if you're left wing that you're going to automatically say, oh, this guy's innocent just because you're left winged. I don't believe that.
No, I don't.
But I do think that there are some extremists that would.
Yeah, but there could be extremism on either side.
Right. I'm not saying that, obviously, but this guy's, I don't think he's.
I guess this is the thing, too, that we have to remember. Well, I think we have to remember, too, that when you look at the population as a total, the extremists are literally, if you guys remember the bell curve, that middle over 60% is everybody that is doing like the same thing. So there are probably people like you and I and everybody in chat and stuff who are not in the extremes. So the extremes on either side is a lot smaller of a portion of people than we think. The problem is that they're usually the ones that are most persistent and loud about what it is that they're trying to say or do.
I 100% agree. That's the squeaky wheel.
And you do have to worry. Yes, and you do have to worry about that.
Yeah, that's what my concern is, that you have an extremist or somebody who is, look at the Luigi Mangione thing. How many supporters he has?
So many. But that also has to do, this is horrible, but that has to do with like hybristophilia. Like he's like seen as attractive. So there's women who in their own lives have, things going on that even make somebody like him attractive. So I think with the Luigi case, it's more about him also being like, well, and for what he did, but then he also has that attractive part where like this guy and Luigi Mangione, like, I don't think that that's a good thing, but I'm saying that we do see it. It's called hybristophilia if anybody wants to look it up, but it's when like these women fall in love with these convicts, and a lot of them, when you look into it, it'll have something like, look at Ted Bundy. I bet you BK has someone out there that's into him. It's ridiculous.
Oh, BK has a lot of people into him.
It's so gross.
It's weird. Especially, I was trying to try to pull up one of his pictures and say, people think this is attractive.
Yeah, I don't get it.
One of his ugly ass pictures.
Seriously. But if you think about it, it makes sense in the sense that that person that's into them, so the woman, if you will, so it'll be like, why would they even want to, date somebody like that? And it's because, one, they know where they're going to be all the time. So they don't ever have to worry about them cheating or not coming home or that. Like, they know where they are. And two, there's only so much, like, especially if the person's a lifer, like they know that they're not going to have to cohabitate with them at some point. So a lot of it has to do with trauma on the end of the female or whoever it is that's interested in the convict. It's a whole thing.
But Luigi Mangione has a lot of male heterosexuals who also follow him.
I would think that that's more for what he did, where the females often, I'm sure there's some for what he did, but then there's others that are just doing it for hybristophilia reasons. It's so.
Yeah. Close says, I think this dude will be guilty off the top, and they will go straight into sentencing. DP will never be off the table, but jurors will still need to decide. Interesting. All right, let's see what some of these questions are. I'm going to turn this up a little bit because it's a little low.
Well, I will leave that up to you to interpret what those engravings mean. I think the clearest one that says "catch fascist," there's not. And by the way, that's like catch like a ball, catch this. That's I think that speaks for itself. Please. There's nothing more that we can share at this time. Yeah, we do not at this time have any information that would lead to any additional arrests.
So they're not leading to any arrests, including the Discord friend. So I guess they're buying his story that it was a joke, or he thought it was a joke.
I would hope too that like the FBI, like I would hope that they looked into it. Maybe he gave his phone over and was like, look at my phone. Like, I have nothing to hide. I really thought he was kidding. Like, who, because again, we have to remember, just like with BK, like, who thinks that their friend could really do something that, that big, like, especially because they haven't done it before.
But there's a little bit of a different story there. I mean, people were suspicious of BK. I'm sure if BK called somebody and said, hey, there's a knife a K-bar knife with a kill kit over here, I think people would have called it in on him based off of his.
I would hope.
Yeah, I really truly believe that. Like the difference here between Brian Koberger's friends and this guy's friend is that this guy's basically confessing by saying, hey, here's my gun, go pick it up for me. Brian Koberger didn't tell anybody, here's my K-bar knife.
I was going to
No.
say his friend was his mother and father.
That's true too. And then they were arguing about what they were doing with the, that happened there because mom and Brian Koberger were sending links to each other about the case. Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. But
here, the friend, I also like. I would hate to. I mean, he probably is. If he's not guilty of anything, then he probably feels like terrible about all of this anyway. And he probably knew that they would see it at some point, but he does bring it to the police. But again, he probably knows that they're going to see it regardless. But I would hope that they're saying this because they looked through, like, did a forensic download of his phone and found nothing suspicious. I would hope.
No. It sounded like they showed the officers the messages and they took pictures.
No, I know, but I mean, for him to say like they didn't think that that they aren't suspicious of him or whatever he just said, I would think that you wouldn't say that unless you knew a little bit more. So maybe he said like, "Here's my phone." Like I did not know anything. Like, so I know that he showed them, but they were going to find it anyway, right? Because they were going to look in the suspect's phone. So they would have seen it. So I guess he like knew that too. So of course you're going to share it. But I would hope that they only said this because they looked at his phone and seen that there was nothing suspicious. I hope.
Right. I don't know. To me, I would understand a friend that, maybe even knew his views, maybe even, knew some stuff, maybe, not know. But once they started giving some details that are correlating with what is being presented online, because it doesn't sound like they made contact with this guy until after the arrest. Now, maybe this guy lives further away. I don't know if he's his current roommate, if this was the roommate while he was in college in his dorm. I don't know. And so maybe this is a guy that lives further away. Maybe he's not into the news and just doesn't know, right?
Or it could be like AZ says, and maybe they've had, like when you talk to a friend and, you're like, you both have like, maybe he didn't like him either. And maybe they said things like, oh, like something where they didn't really mean it, or at least the roommate didn't mean it legitimately, but like I wouldn't care if something happens, like just something. So like maybe that made it to where he did not think anything of it when his friend said that.
I don't know. Now that I think about it, though, if he's messaging this friend, I'm assuming this is a friend that lives close enough to go pick up the knife, right? I mean, the gun.
Absolutely.
And so this is somebody that lives in that area, probably somebody that he went to school with before, probably an ex-roommate. Sounds like he's living with mom and dad right now. So I'm thinking this is his ex-roommate from when he was living on campus. I mean, I find it hard that somebody living on campus is not involved in the news about what happened there.
No.
You get what I'm saying? And so the information about the weapon being found was public the day before. Now, he may not have ever gotten to it. We can give him the benefit of the doubt of that. But if he had heard that there was a high-powered rifle found in the wooded area, and his buddy tells him, "Hey, I hid my gun. It's a special gun," and he goes into some great detail. It's got a scope. It's a unique type of gun. It's wrapped in a towel, and I got some ammunition with some engravings on it. It's a lot of detail to be,
So if he
weird.
gave all that detail, don't you think that if the friend or the roommate knew that he would have known all of that already?
What do you mean?
Like that he had a scope and that he had, bullet casings with writings on it.
Well, no, because I think this is a guy that lives there in that area. You know what I mean? I don't think, and I think that the suspect lived with his mom and dad back home.
That makes sense.
And so I don't know if the friend knew what kind of weapon he had, or I mean, he may have, but
I was just thinking, like, if he would know something, like if he was involved in some way, and again, allegedly, whatever, I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I feel like he would know more than just that his friend was going to do something like that. Like, I feel like, don't you think?
Right. And I'm not sure that he had knowledge of, beforehand.
Right. But he should have right after.
Right. My concern about it is it seems like this conversation happened after the arrest, which is why didn't he call the authorities beforehand?
Because again, what if he really did just think his friend was kidding? Like, what if he just knew that this friend, because remember the other guy, the suspect that we first saw, the transgender, remember he wrote something online or something like, I didn't do anything. So like, how do we, you know what I mean? So it could just be that he didn't think anything of it.
That's true. That's true. Stacy comes in with $5 super sticker. Thank you so much, Stacy. All right, let's continue this.
Yes, but the investigation is ongoing. Yes. So right now, Mr. Robinson has been booked into the Utah County Jail. You heard the president this morning report that that he was taken into custody. That his family and a friend helped to deliver him into into custody of law enforcement in Washington County. For those of you that don't know where Washington County is, it is the southwesternmost part of the state of Utah. It's about a 3.5 to 4 hour drive from here, where we are right now, and that's where he lived and where they turned him in. Please, I'll go here. I can't share any more than what I've already shared. Yeah. So how we obtained the gun was found here. So I don't have much more details on that. We do know that he drove. We had his car here on campus, and then we had his car going south back to the St. George. It's actually the city of Washington in Washington County. I'm sorry. We don't have any information that would lead us to believe that. Yes, in fact, it was just released. Yes. I can't answer that right now. Yeah, thank you.
If he's talking to authorities, did he discuss a motive? I can't answer that right now. I mean, if he's not talking, you would assume that the answer would be
would say no.
Talking.
Yeah, they would have said no.
So it sounds like he's talking, giving up a motive. Now
it does.
This guy has come on before saying that this was a political attack, and he's continued to say it's a political attack even after the arrest. So I'm assuming that, connecting dots to dots, that's probably what it is, right?
I think so. Yes, I would think that it's safe to say that.
Yeah, I do too.
Over here. I absolutely believe that this is a watershed in American history. Yes. The question is what kind of watershed, and that chapter remains to be written. Is this the end of a dark chapter in our history, or the beginning of a darker chapter in our history? Look. I mean, if you look at true political assassinations in this country of someone of this stature, this feels a lot like the late 60s. And having one so gruesomely displayed on camera in all of our hands and in all of our pockets, we are not wired as human beings biologically. Historically, we have not evolved in a way that we are capable of processing those types of violent imagery. And by the way, we've seen another one with a gruesome stabbing very recently that went viral. This is not good for us. It is not good to consume. Social media is a cancer on our society right now. And I would encourage people to log off, turn off, touch grass, hug a family member, go out and do good in your community. That is happening, and it's happening organically right now. I had a friend in a small city in Utah who said, we're getting together. The Republicans and Democrats in my little town are getting together to have a discussion last night, just to find a way to find their better angels. So yes, this could be. I mean, again, you have to go back to JFK to have seen a video live of something like this happening. I wasn't born until 1975, but I know that things were really dark in the late 60s. Sorry to some of you. I know some of you were there. But this is our moment. Do we escalate, or do we find an off ramp? And again, it's a choice. It's a choice, and every one of us gets to make that choice. Two more questions right here.
So kind of like what we were indicating, is this a crossroads? Is this a turning point where things are going to get better or things are going to get worse? I think he explained it pretty well. What do you think?
I do too. I just think, unfortunately, like he was saying, we're so desensitized to some of these things that I don't know that it's, unfortunately, like I think that this has, it's gotten a lot of traction. I just hope that it continues to get traction as far as helping us find common ground somewhere or something, just somewhere to where we know that violence isn't the right thing. Unfortunately, we see mass shootings, we see all these things all the time. And unfortunately, they've never been a time for us to change as far as, you know what I mean? We want them to be, but So I just don't know. I mean, I don't know if I just sound very pessimistic, and I'm usually an optimistic person, but I almost feel like in a week or two, people go back to what they were doing before, and unfortunately, somebody will be covering the next mass shooting or whatever it is. And it's just unfortunate, but that's how I feel. How do you feel?
Yeah, I do too. I think that it's probably going to get a lot darker before it ever gets any better. I see the divide. I don't see anything trending in a different direction with this. With, like, for instance, 9/11 that just occurred. The anniversary just happened. There was togetherness. There was people coming together. When President Trump was nearly assassinated, when his attempt was occurred, I saw a little bit of togetherness. It seemed more, but with this one, I didn't. I mean, I know with Trump there was a few people that were like, "Oh, don't miss next time" and stuff like that. And maybe if he got hit, it'd be a different story. We'd probably maybe have seen some of this ugliness there. But for the most part, I feel like this is way worse than what that was. With what I've seen online, with some of the people, what they're saying and how they're celebrating this. And I don't see an upward trajectory from here.
Well, you know what else is horrible with this too? I mean, everything is, but when you asked me the other night, like, how did I find out about this? My answer was that my 17-year-old was on TikTok with her friends. Like, they were all in the room together and it came up on their phone and they all watched it. So now they've all seen it. They've seen it multiple times. They came down to show me, to show this one. So it's like every time you replay that, you become more desensitized from this stuff. So that's the part that really scares me, is the desensitization and then the radicalization, especially of disenfranchised young people. And I saw somebody write about something, disenfranchised young white men. That's a huge thing as well. So there's just, we could do so much better, but we need to do it with our youth. Like, now we can't keep putting it off.
I agree.
The release of those enhanced images at 8 p.m. timeline that Director Patel gave us led to the arrest at 10 p.m. So a direct connection between those two events.
I cannot comment if there is a direct connection or not, but all I can say is that that through some process, the family came to know that this had happened.
One more thing, could you clarify the clothing issue you mentioned earlier? Was he changing outfits?
Correct. Yes. So when he's first spotted on campus, he has different clothing on, and then he changes clothing on the roof, and then changed back into that clothing at some point, so that when he was apprehended, when he was arrested, the clothing matched the clothing he had on before the shooting here at UVU. Last question here. Yes.
So just he changed. He says on the roof. I think it was actually in the field back there, because we saw him jump off the roof wearing the same clothing that he was wearing on the way there. And like I said, in the background, you can see where on one side it looks like he's wearing jeans, and then on the other side it looks like you can see more of the shoes and more of his leg, like a lighter color, indicating shorts. So
Everybody keeps saying that the last 20 seconds is critical of this. So we have to make sure we listen to it all the way to the end.
all right, we will. Let me turn it up even more because it's a little bit low. I hope I'm not blowing anybody's ears out.
Mm-mm. If I haven't blown their ears out, you're good.
Yeah. So I don't have any information on the mental illness part. He was not a student here at UVU. He was living and had lived for a long time with his family in Washington County, in the southernmost part of our state. Thank you, everyone, for your great work in getting this information out. I just say, process-wise, this may be important. I know many of you aren't familiar with the process in Utah. I think it's important that you understand that. Basically, we have 3 days for charging documents to be filed. A CI will be filed. We'll have more information then, more detailed information as those charging documents are filed in preparation for a preliminary hearing. So 3 days. So we would anticipate then that early next week those charging documents will be filed. We will obviously be working. The county attorney will be working very closely with Mr. Kirk's family as those documents and decisions are prepared and made. Thanks, everyone.
All right, so in 3 days there'll be some charging documents. Is that what we were waiting on at the end?
I don't know. Go back 20 seconds just to see, because I just want to. I don't know. I
week,
want
those charging documents will be filed. We will obviously be working the county attorney. A CI will be filed. We'll have more
Well, hold on.
information then, more detailed information.
Here's the thing. I got some documents. Let me pull them up real quick.
I think that they said something about, because they said that they will be working with family.
Oh, okay. Let me see. Let me go back. Because I thought they said that one way or another that the family had.
And then somebody else just said it too. Mr. Kirk's family. That means about the decision with the DP.
Priorities. Thank you, everyone. Student here at UVU. He was living and had lived for a long time with his family in Washington County, in the southernmost part of Northeast. Thank you, everyone, for your great work in getting this information out. I just say process-wise, this may be important. I know many of you aren't familiar with the process in Utah. I think it's important that you understand that. Basically, we have 3 days for charging documents to be filed. A CI will be filed. We'll have more information then, more detailed information as those charging documents are filed in preparation for a preliminary hearing. So 3 days. So we would anticipate then that early next week those charging documents will be filed. We will obviously be working. The county attorney will be working very closely with Mr. Kirk's family as those documents and decisions are prepared and made. Thanks, everyone.
I think that was the part.
So they're going to be working with Charlie's family to.
What does that mean?
I'm assuming the decision that they would make is if they want to not pursue the death penalty and plea deal.
And maybe like talking to the family about, like talking to the suspect about speaking and, cooperating.
That's a good possibility. That's a good possibility. I would assume it has something to do with that. These are the charging documents that were supposed to be 3 days out.
Wow.
So Utah Sheriff County, Utah County inmate details. He was arrested at 4:04 a.m. Booked in at about 8 a.m. Okay, he's 5'10", so we were wondering about how tall he was. He's 5'10", 150 pounds. Okay.
He's thin.
Yeah. He's being charged with felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, obstruction of justice, capital first-degree felony conduct, and aggravated murder.
The aggravated murder is what'll get him the DP.
Yeah. And this is the booking sheet. Outside UT County is where the arresting location. It says here, the following information was obtained by your find from police officers, multiple video recordings posted on social media websites, Utah Valley University campus, surveillance cameras, and those who witnessed the incident. On September 10, 2025, Charles James Kirk was at the Utah Valley University, UVU campus in Orem, Utah for a political event. Mr. Kirk is a conservative political activist who was scheduled to speak at the event in the courtyard area of UVU. The courtyard area is to the west of the Los Center. According to the video recordings, Charles was wearing a white t-shirt, dark pants, sitting under a white canopy in a courtyard with the campus facing east. The event was attended by hundreds of individuals. Charles was surrounded by people with multiple individuals to his left and right. And in front of the canopy, behind the canopy, was a walkway used for the access to various parts of the university. Charles was holding a microphone and speaking to the crowd. While speaking to the microphone, a loud gunshot was heard at approximately 12:23 hours, and Charles appeared to have been hit in the neck. Blood was seen coming out of the left side of his neck and fell over to his left. Charles was transported to the regional hospital in Orem. Charles was pronounced deceased at the hospital. Investigators reviewed the Utah Valley University surveillance cameras, and while reviewing the surveillance cameras, investigators observed an individual on the rooftop of the Luce Center building on UVU campus at the time of the shooting. Hereafter identified, the individual will be referred to as suspect. Based on the surveillance camera footage, suspect appears to be a white male with dark-colored hair, wearing a dark-colored hat, sunglasses, long-sleeve black shirt, and a picture of an American flag with an American eagle printed on the shirt, dark-colored jeans, white and gray shoes with white-colored shoelaces. The shoes to be consistent with Chuck Taylor Converse-style shoes. Suspect is also carrying a dark-colored backpack and on his back. Suspect walks with a distinctive gait. Prior to the shooting, suspect appears to walk with a stiff right leg and relatively slow pace. Suspect's ability to bend his right leg appears to be, it's a pretty long one, appears to be restricted. Investigators were able to track the suspect's movements on the UV campus starting at approximately 11:50 hours on 9/10/2025. At approximately 11:50, UVU surveillance cameras first captured the suspect walking across the grass north area of the campus drive. At approximately 800 west, the suspect walked south through the parking lot and approached the pedestrian tunnel that runs underneath the campus drive. Before entering the tunnel, the suspect paused at the top of the stairs and pulled out what appeared to be a cell phone from his pocket using his right hand at approximately 11:53 hours. The suspect eventually put what appeared to be a cell phone back in his right pants pocket using his right hand. So what do you think about that? Do you think he was checking the time? Do you think he was texting people? Do you think there's something there? Maybe he was contacting someone?
I don't know, but that's something I would probably ask you more about. What do you think?
It's weird.
It is.
Know. He could be checking the time to see what time it was to see. I got to go back and look at the picture, see if he has a watch. Because if he was
I was going to say, who knows? He could have had on like a smart watch and been looking. It could have been looking at anything.
Yeah, exactly. At approximately 12:02 hours, suspect was recorded walking on the north side of the building there, walking the same gait as observed earlier. Suspect entered the Loose Center building through a set of doors in the southeast corner. At approximately 12:15, suspect was observed walking up the stairs that led to the common area adjacent to the Loose Center building. Suspect walked a short concrete wall that separates the common area from the rooftop of the Loose Center building. At approximately 12:17, the suspect climbed over a short wall and appeared to crouch down on the north side of the wall on the rooftop. Approximately 12:22, the suspect stood up and started to run across the rooftop at the Loose Center building. A notable limp from previous surveillance was absent. So, I think what they're trying to say is that the rifle was hidden to an extent that it was being concealed, and it was causing the limp. And I think that the location of the weapon was probably in his back, down his right leg, and it was covered by the backpack. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds absolutely. I agree with that.
All right. So then it goes on to say,
do we know if he had the rifle already up there?
No, I think that's what he had it. He had it in his back. I think he had.
So you think it went both? Okay, I see.
Yeah, I think he had the rifle slid down his back leg pocket, or not his leg pocket, but his back, like in his back, down his back leg, and that part of it that was sticking up is probably covered by the backpack.
It's unbelievable.
The suspect ran into the west of the rooftop and appeared to scoot along the rooftop. As he got closer to the edge of the rooftop, approximately 12:22, suspect laid down in a position consistent with a prone shooting position near the edge of the rooftop and appeared to be facing west in the direction of the courtyard area. The rooftop of the Loose Center building overlooks the courtyard area where the event featuring Charlie Kirk was taking place. The building is east of the courtyard area, and at approximately 12:23, Charlie Kirk was shot. Approximately 12:23, surveillance shows the suspect stood up and suddenly from the edge of the rooftop and sprinted north of the rooftop of the Loose Center building. Suspect ran to the northeast corner of the building and approached the edge of the rooftop. Suspect placed a dark-colored item on the rooftop and proceeded to lower himself off the rooftop. Suspect dropped the rooftop onto the grass below. The suspect ran north near the parking lot to the east of the center at approximately 12:24 hours. The suspect ran north across the Campus Drive Road. Suspect appeared to be carrying an item whose identity is not clear from the surveillance. The area north of the Campus Drive where the suspect crossed over consists of a grassy area with trees on the edge of the UVU campus. Investigators discovered a bolt-action rifle wrapped in a dark-colored towel. The rifle was determined to be a Mauser Model 9.8 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle. The rifle had a scope mounted on the top of it. Investigators noted inscriptions that had been engraved on the casings found on the rifle. Inscriptions on the fired casings read, "Notices bulge, OWO, what is this?" ? Inscriptions on 3 unfired casings read, "Hey fascists, catch." Up arrow symbol, right arrow symbol, and 3 down arrow symbols. So it kind of just seems that those arrow symbols are all together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know what they mean, though. I'm going to look into it.
A second unfired casing read, "Oh, Bella Cow, Bella Cow, Bella Cow, Cow, Cow." I think that's what you say, right?
I think so.
Or Chow?
Ciao.
Bella Ciao. There you go.
Bella Ciao. Ciao, Bella, Bella Ciao, yes.
Yes. And a third one, "If you read this, you're gay, LMAO." Investigators also discovered a shoe impression on the northeast corner of the edge of the building. The shoe impression was located in the vicinity where the suspect climbed down from the rooftop. Shoe impression was consistent with the shoe's sole characteristics of a Converse Chuck Taylor shoe. On the evening of September 11th, a family member of Tyler Robinson reached out to a family friend who contacted the Washington County Sheriff's Office with information that Robinson had confessed to them or implied that he had committed the incident. The information was relayed to the Utah County Sheriff's Office and senior investigators of UVU. Information was also conveyed to the FBI. Investigators reviewed additional footage from UVU and identified Robinson arriving on the campus in a gray Dodge Challenger at approximately 8:29. So he'd been there all morning. He'd been there for about almost 3.5 hours.
It's crazy.
Before the event, which he is observed on video in plain maroon t-shirt, light colored shorts, and a black hat with a white logo, and light colored shoes. When he encountered a person by investigators in the Washington County on September 12th, early morning hours, Robinson was observed in consistent clothing with a surveillance image. So he got dressed back into the clothes that he was wearing earlier during the crime. Investigators interviewed the family members of Robinson, who stated Robinson had become more political in the recent years. Family member referred to a recent incident which Robinson came to dinner prior to September 10th, 2025, and in conversation with another family member, Robinson mentioned Charlie Kirk was coming to UVU. They talked about why they didn't like him and the viewpoints he had. The family member also stated Kirk was full of hate and spreading hate. The family member also confirmed Robinson had a gray Dodge Challenger. Investigators identified an individual as a roommate of Robinson. Investigators interviewed the roommate, who stated his roommate, referring to Robinson, made a joke on Discord. Investigators asked if he would show him the messages on Discord, and he opened it and showed several messages to investigators and allowed investigators to take photos of the screen as each message was shown to Robinson's roommate. So it doesn't sound like they actually took his phone to download. Wouldn't you want that? Would you have asked?
I already assumed that they definitely did. Like, I thought that was, I thought that was, yes, I'm very surprised.
Me too. The photos consisted of various messages, including content of messages between the phone contact named Tyler with an emoji icon and Robinson's roommate's device. The content of these messages include messages affiliated with the contact Tyler, stating a need to retrieve a rifle from a drop point, leaving the rifle in a bush, messages related to a visually watching the area where the rifle was left, and a message referring to having left the rifle wrapped in a towel. To visually watching the area. I wonder if this guy could see that area from where maybe his dorm or his room or whatever he was at, to relate it to visually watching the area where the rifle was left. Do you think it was like, do you see anybody out there? You know what I'm saying? Is that what you think that is?
Possibly. Or could it, I don't know. I don't know on that one, because that would be assuming that we know somebody was up in a room and assuming that they also have on campus housing right there. So there's a couple of things that I would think of before I just guessed if that was that. Yeah.
Good point. The messages also referred to engraving bullets and the mention of a scope and a rifle being unique. Messages from the contact Tyler also mentioned that he had changed his outfits. So he went into that detail too. Oh, I changed my clothes. That's a lot of detail.
It's a lot of detail.
Based on the evidence detailed in this statement, I believe there's probable cause that Tyler Robinson committed the crimes of the aggravated murder of shooting Charlie Kirk in a circumstance that put many around him at grave risk of death, felony discharge of a firearm, and obstructive of justice in moving and hiding the rifle believed to be used in the shooting. By submitting this affidavit, I declare under criminal penalty of the state of Utah and under foregoing is true and correct. Brian Davis. It's a lot of detail. I don't know. I don't like it. It stinks. Something stinks there.
I still want to give it the benefit of the doubt, but it does.
Something stinks. I'm just going to say, I mean, you know, there's a little bit of smoke. That doesn't necessarily mean there's fire, but.
No, I just have a ton of questions, though, for them.
I do, too. I have some questions for the investigators not collecting that phone.
Yes. Like, I can't believe that's not like, you know, just what you do.
I mean, you would assume they would want to know, all right, was this guy put up to this? Was this guy influenced? Was this guy brainwashed?
Is this guy's family holding on to the phone as like a part of a bargaining chip?
Well, that, or I mean, even to the point where, like, all right, is it possible that if he was affiliated with a group, that there would be other targets? And don't you want to find that out?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You get what I'm saying?
I can't believe that they don't have the phone. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. It didn't. It sounds weird that they didn't, recuperate it. That they just took, screenshots of it.
No, I assume that they would have like forensically downloaded it.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I would have at least asked. I mean, they asked that in a lot of people in the Brian Koberger case. Hey, can you?
That's what I'm saying. I think that's why I thought that, because in the Koberger case, they did ask a lot of people that. I think that hopefully none of us are ever in that situation, but I would offer.
Yeah, exactly. Here, I have nothing to hide.
No, that is a little sketch. Because when I said earlier about playing devil's advocate, one of my thought processes were that they looked at his phone. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely ask. I think you could get probable cause based on the detail and the stuff that they were asking. It wouldn't be hard to get probable cause. You don't need proof beyond reasonable doubt that he was responsible to get probable cause for a warrant to look into the guy's phone.
So would they have already gotten the warrant if they wanted? If they like they would have already had that, right? If they sought out a warrant for it.
Yeah, I would hope so.
I would think so too, which means that they didn't even do that.
But do you think there's a possibility that they're trying to get this done as fast as possible?
Yeah, but at what?
I mean, if the guy confesses, they might.
Yeah, but at what end? Like you said, what if there's you need to know?
Hey, I agree, but as we know with the Brian Koberger case, in some places, there might be other factors that are included before, like financial factors that are included,
and even
that are
just
put before,
and even just the whole country just being talking about, are they going to find this person? Da, 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 da. So I do see that there is there's definitely a reason why you would want to solve this quickly, but I would hope that the investigation is still happening, and that if there were a reason to course correct, that they would. I hope it's still occurring. I hope they didn't just say oh, that's it.
Right. But I mean, I think that there's something to it. Like, oh, look, we got this guy committed this horrendous crime. We captured him within a matter of days, and he pled out, and then we got a conviction in a matter of months. I obviously they could do more, and hopefully they do more, even if that ends up being the case. But I think there's something to that optics of that. Like, oh, we got it taken care of right away. You know what I mean?
It happens all the time. And again, why would they want to do that in this case? So that everybody feels secure and they feel safe. And they're like, oh, they got this person right away. Like nobody's in danger. So I do see why they would want to do that. But at the same time, I hope that doesn't mean that there's a stop to the investigation.
I do too. Well, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. Let me make sure I don't have anything here. Oh, there's one question for you, Dr. Vona. Do you think a psychiatrist will be sent into jail to evaluate the suspect?
I do, absolutely. And I did respond to that. I look at the chat as we're going, and somebody a few minutes ago said, this woman is dumb AF. And I just want to say that that's pretty funny. I have a doctorate degree. I'm not dumb AF, but
Hey, You're dumb and I'm a fascist, apparently.
I don't know, Daniel. But I will tell you, as I was reading, like when you were reading that, there's a ton of people that were like, these two are such a good team. And then all of a sudden that comment came out. But I thought it was pretty funny. I don't pay attention.
Yeah, neither do I. I do too. I think they're going to bring in a doctor to evaluate this guy.
They better.
Yeah, we'll find out more in the preliminary hearing. We'll find out more in a few more hearings that are coming. But I think this is going to be pretty swift. You know what I mean? Well, Dr. Vona, what do you have coming up next?
I knew that was coming. I was like, please don't ask me. No. The next thing, what do I have next? I probably will. Well, hopefully we'll eventually get to BK because I do want to talk about that stuff. But in the meantime, I am working on another Mackenzie Shrilla thing. My last video is doing pretty well. Like people seem to like it. So if you haven't seen it, it's not just about that case, but it's about developmental psychology. And I use the case as a way to explain about like imaginary audience, about young adulthood. So if anybody's interested in that developmental part, go look at that. I just dropped that. And I don't know, I'll be around soon. Maybe I'll do like a members only or something Sunday. We'll see what happens.
There you go. Yeah, we've got to work on
What are you doing?
Probably the Brian Koberger case thing. That'll be the next thing that I come up with. And maybe tomorrow, maybe Monday. No, probably not Monday. But maybe Tuesday, if not tomorrow. So keep
I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Check in, like, comment, subscribe, so that way you're notified. Until next time, guys, we appreciate y'all. Be safe. There's no need to argue amongst each other. It's not worth it, and don't let anybody, make you lose sleep at night. At the end of the day, nobody's worth it.
And please go sub to my channel if you're not already. I beg you.
There you go. It's in the comments. No,
I was going to say they did put it in the comments a few times. It's just the mind behind true crime with Dr. Vona.
And if you're watching this on replay, it's in the description. It says follow today's guest. All you got to do is hit that app button and it goes straight there. Until next time, guys, y'all be safe. Peace.